can you see this person's perspective,
Right.
but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
Welcome in.
Hello. How are you, Devin?
I've had better days.
All right. I appreciate the honesty and transparency.
I have spoken to several people this morning, and you and I have talked, and there are a lot of people right now that are seeking the permission to grieve, process, deal, and just be as we go into this holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
And when you just want to say no, how do we deal with that? And how do we do it without hurting people's feelings that the people that want us to show up? It's like, well, look, it's dinner. You're going to have to eat anyway, so just show up. Okay, it's just this. Just why can't you do it? It's one day. Can't you do this for everybody who loves you? And I lost someone really, really dear to me yesterday. And it's like, and I think about his sweet mom, and I think about what she's going to be going through, and I think about all the stuff, and I go, how do you wrap around grief, loss, new normals? People have coupled and uncoupled over this last year, and that happens every year. And then you have the year of the first Thanksgiving, the first Christmas, whatever. So can we open up the box of saying no?
Absolutely. The box of saying no should always be open. It should always, I have to be careful saying should, because you know what I say, we shouldn't should all over ourselves. But the opportunity of saying no for our own self-care, our own mental well-being, our emotional stability, that should never not be on the table. And I want to say this is probably going to be a hot button topic today because people are going to be feeling a little triggered. So if you need to mute us or step away, mute us or step away. But and that said, we have to be willing to look at that ugly, ugly word that is tossed around all the time when we are afraid to say no. And that word is codependency. Now, that does not mean that as healthy, functioning individuals, you're walking around on eggshells all the time, codependent on what other people are thinking. But if you have an issue setting boundaries for yourself, even and especially around holidays and special occasions, it may be time to have that hard, challenging conversation with your loved ones to let them know where you are, and that it does not mean it's not a gauge of how much you care about them, don't care about them, don't want to be around extended family. In fact, it's not about them at all. It's about the individual being able to take care of themselves. And there are a lot of people who skip out on the holidays because sensory overload, emotional overload, we do more damage to our own psyche than we do participating and then being drained afterwards. Now, and I'm not talking about if you're just, sitting home watching Gilmore Girls and you're like, man, I'm gonna pass it. I just don't want to get up off the couch and go. There's a difference in that. And when you are really in a place where you are aware that you could be grieving, you're aware that you could be slightly situationally depressed or depressed, period, on a deeper level, and you just don't have the gas in your tank to go. It doesn't mean you're feeling sorry for yourself. It actually means you're trying to self-care. And nothing is more insulting for someone that's trying to implement self-care and having the people that love them tell them, well, they're doing it wrong. Because if you would just eat something or come visit with us, you'd feel better.
Okay.
They're skewing.
That's it. That's big. Elizabeth is with us. Hello, hello, hello. Corinne is with us.
Hey, Corinne.
Angie is with us. And Suzanne is with us. And she offers, I love the holiday, but it depresses me at times. That's some truth. It happens to a lot of people. Amen to that. Amy says the drain is real. Self-care is so incredibly essential.
Mm-hmm. And I think as we age we lose people, right? That's just a given.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whether you lose relationships or whether loved ones transition and, go on to other worldly places. The older we get, holidays change. We lose the magical part of it that is there when we are children. Or not all children have that. Some children, holidays are just pure hell. But the commercialized Hallmark holiday, mm-hmm. right? So then we have a lot of self-judgments around that. Well, I should feel happy because everybody's getting together and, blah, blah, blah. But the truth of it is sometimes you just need to unplug and take care of yourself.
Right. Elizabeth says it's sometimes hard to take care of our own selves during the holidays. Family doesn't always understand.
No, and you're absolutely right, Elizabeth. And part of the time it's because they don't, they're unaware of how to connect and how to hold space for someone when they are grieving. And the other part of it is they really genuinely want you to feel better. And if you just come and let them love on you and eat good food, you'll feel better. And that's not always the case. It's not always the case.
It's way not always the case. And, there's the guilt that is heaped upon someone who pulls out and says, I got to take this one off, you guys. Mm-hmm. I can't do this. Okay. You think about, there are a lot of things. The expense of travel is monumentous this year. I mean, everything is really, really expensive. And we put so much pressure, and every holiday, all of the prices on every single thing goes through the roof. It's just through the roof. That's what happens. And so you put the pressure to, well, I've got to be there then. I've got to be there then. When, if you wait 1 week, everything changes. Everything changes. And my family, we started doing something that if we can't get together, we just, whenever we get there, it's whenever we get there. And we call it Merry Thanksmas. And it's just like, okay, whatever it is. Because, we don't need gifts anymore. We're trying to get rid of everything. We're at the age now. It's like, you know what? I want to get down to where I can live in a tiny home. I just literally want to get rid of all my stuff. I don't want anybody to have to deal with it. This is where we are. So it's not about gift giving. It's about sitting in the presence with people that you love and having a good meal together. And that's it. So,
Exactly. And I think that from a social standpoint, it is a conditioning. And I'm not trying to pee on anybody's holidays here. I'm just saying that from a social standpoint, commercialism has driven all of the give, do, buy, all of that. Mm-hmm. There are some people out there. I used to be one of these people. I made a list of damn near everybody I knew, and I bought a gift for them at the holidays. And then I hit about 35, 40, and I started whittling that back. And I can tell you that now I buy gifts that are, I love to gift experiences to people. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel the obligation to buy somebody something that I see once a year. It's if I see something that inspires me or reminds me of them, I will get it. Not just at the holiday. I might get it on July the 12th. Who knows?
You're a really good gift giver. You really are. You find some really amazing things. Elizabeth says, I spent 4 years of not spending any holidays with my family. It was hard for them, but absolutely just what I needed. Mm-hmm. That happens. Amy adds, when I am feeling overwhelmed in family dynamics, one of my favorite self-care tactics is excusing myself for a walk. Ooh, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Just me, myself, and I, with my soul quiet and breath. And I don't feel guilty in saying I need this time.
Right. Right. That's one of the things, we talk about, during the Thanksgiving holiday, and, carving out the time for yourself is important. Not just Thanksgiving, but I mean, that's the first one that we're heading into next week. And so it's important, and we can downplay that importance. But what we're doing when we downplay the importance of taking care of ourselves, we're downplaying our own mental and emotional and physical well-being. So we're actively self-betraying.
Ooh, actively self-betraying. See, that's one of those kind of Terry phrases that I write down and going, oh, then it'll come to my mind later and going, am I actively self-betraying?
And I can almost hear Elizabeth's little fingers on that keyboard right now going, actively self-betraying. She's so good at making those notes.
She's amazing. Yes. Corinne says, I am actually looking forward to plugging in next year. I want to be with my family in Georgia.
Nice.
See, and that's what happens when you give yourself the time. And then when it's right, it works. And it's just, it's amazing. It's amazing. Now let's, Amy says, I'm holding that one in my pocket.
There you go.
And I laugh because I have a nervous tick that when I get anxious, I rub my legs. I sit here and I wear my jeans out, and it's so funny because I think I'm all triggered up on this conversation because it's really, but how do you deal with the guilt, or how do you deal with hurting someone's feelings? Because the family will get butthurt over you not coming home.
Okay, well, let me just say this.
And then I'm not talking about my family. I'm talking about just in general. Families, it could be across the street. And it probably is even harder when you live in the same town and you won't just come over for dinner.
Okay, so let me say this. This might sting a little. I'm going to say that for you, Devin, because I know
I did not put up my water. I did not drink coffee. I said, Mom,
that is a feeling guilty and worrying about hurting someone's feelings instead of focusing on what you need for yourself is a mild to medium form of codependency. I'm not talking about, oh, I need to do this for them or fix them or make them happier or do this and da-da-da-da-da. That's codependency too. But there's a spectrum. And all of us, depending on family dynamics and how we were raised and how we interact, and, let's be real, human beings inside their own family, we know it's no different than animal packs in the wild. They know how to navigate and act inside that family. And if you step outside of what has been in place, the history, the parameters, the way we do it, who we are, if you step outside of that to take care of yourself, people do get butthurt sometimes. But here's a beautiful thing. It is like an angel fart. Their feelings are not your problem. If they get hurt because you are taking care of yourself, that is something they need to look at, because that is the priority. Should be, we would love to have you here, but we understand you need to take care of you and we love you. Mm-hmm. But most families don't do that. Most families try to find a way, well, we're not going to have the green bean casserole you make every year. Everybody's going to miss that. And it's like, well, I'll bring it over the day before. Why don't you just bring it over the day of? What's the big deal? It's just a couple of hours. But what they don't understand is that a lot of people are hanging on by a thread. And the holidays come along and start teasing that thread. So by the time everything unrolls, you're hanging on by literally fragments of a thread, and your family don't necessarily know that. Now, I'm not talking about people are in self-harm mode, but some people are, And then sometimes it's just that you just need to unplug, eat some spaghetti, watch the Gilmore Girls in your favorite Christmas pajamas on the 24th or whatever that Thursday. I know the date changes from year to year, but on Thanksgiving, you just need to plug out.
Absolutely. Elizabeth says taking care of yourself is selfish and you just don't love us. Ooh, that's one of those that why don't you want to be a part of us?
And see, that is manipulation.
Oh, yes, of course it is.
That's manipulation and a little bit of gaslighting. Why don't you just don't love us? It's like, what? Like 364 days out of the year, I'm doing all I can do to love, 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 love. And one day out of that 364 or 365, you're like, well, now you don't love me. And it's like, oh my gosh. And that's the grossest thing ever. And quite honestly, if you have a family that does that, I'd probably take a couple of years off from them. I mean, why not? Do something you want to do.
Amy says, yep and yep. So true, Terry. I recently did something that was so foreign for me, but so self-caring. I spent one Christmas after my divorce all by myself. And even though no one understood, it was the most relaxing, healing thing I could have done for myself back then.
Nice.
That is the thing when you have to self-care and heal yourself. Now, here's the other thing. You bring, and I don't mean Debbie Downer, but I mean, at the same time, there's some times when we're in a dark place. I don't mean dark, I'm going to go jump off a bridge. I mean, I just don't have it in me. I'm an empty shell. You take that empty shell to a family gathering and they go, what's wrong with you? Snap out of it. Why are you this way? I mean, get over it. How long does it take for you to get over it? I'm going to tell you something. There's some things that you just don't get over.
Well, and the other thing to that is, the catch-all for Thanksgiving, which I think is, cockahooey, is that one of the things my clients will say all the time is when my family just says, it's Thanksgiving, you should come see us and be grateful. I'm like, okay. It doesn't always work that way.
No.
You can't, telling somebody to be, and I know I am the queen of do your gratitude, do your blessings. I'm the queen of that. I spout that stuff all the time. But the reality is we're talking about different facets and different dynamics. And in the holidays, or I don't care if it's a family reunion and you don't have the energy in your tank to go, then you just don't have the energy in your tank to go. And, are there times that you might go and you might get there and you walk away from it and you're like, well, that was really nice. I had a good time. Sure, there are. But there's also going to be times when you're going to get there and you're going to wish that you could crawl under a car and just hibernate until everybody leaves and then slither out of there, because you're required to be in performance mode. And when you are trying to navigate your emotional well-being, sometimes you don't have, your nervous system doesn't have enough juice in the battery to try to take care of yourself, to remind you to take a shower and to eat something. You don't have enough juice to go out and be performing for all the people you haven't seen in a year, and they all have questions and want to know what you're doing, and suddenly you're just like, you're doing what Amy does. You're like, I'm out of here. I'm going to go for a walk. You just don't tell them that you're walking all the way home. You just,
I laughed because there was this one time I and I love my Mama Pat. Mama Pat is just her own little creature. Come on. Just let us feed you. And I walk in and she's like, are you going to wear that? Well, yes, Mom, I did not bring a suitcase. I just walked in the door. It's what I'm wearing. Well, sure have put on some weight, haven't you? And she says that as she's like shoving the food and saying,
and that's those family dynamics, right?
It's a family dynamics. And I'm going, okay, thanks, Mom. It's just so funny. Suzanne says, I understand. I tell them I'll bring a plate. I like that. That's a really good way to tell somebody you understand is I'll leave a plate on the front porch or whatever. That's a really nice thing to do. And there's some people who've been very kind in my life to do that for me. Elizabeth says, I can say that I used to dread holidays with my family and would self-medicate with alcohol. After getting sober, I've learned to approach holidays with a whole different mindset. I've learned to accept they are who they are and be okay with it. I'm with you, Elizabeth. I felt like a couple of bottles of wine and a snootful of whiskey would really get me through the holiday a little bit better. And and Amy's laughing at both of us at this point. Sometimes you cope, and then you go, wait a minute. You told me something that was really good. It was in one of our sessions, and you said, if you were watching this on television and this were a situational comedy, would you laugh? What would you do? If you were watching this, change your perspective, get out of it and watch it like a situational comedy. That was so life-changing for me, Terry, because all of a sudden I'm Dorothy. My mom is Sophia. And I laugh at every dadgum thing she says. She tickles me now because it's hysterical. It does not hurt my feelings because she's 86 and funny. And by the way, I did want to report that Mama Pat, everybody's been praying for her, and she is kicking butt. She got her boot off yesterday from, there's a train going by. She got her boot off yesterday from her broken leg. She is kicking butt. She's got this special contraption that helps her stand 30 minutes at a time.
Nice.
And she went 100 feet yesterday with her PT people walking and actually using both feet. And it's just like, wow.
Lovely.
So she's kicking butt and taking names, and she's excited because she has her Nikes on.
Good for her.
Faith put them on, and she says, I found her some Nikes and they fit, and she's all excited because she's wearing Nikes. So Elizabeth said, way to go, Mama Pat. Yeah. She loves that we have this show and we talk about her. And so,
well, when you said there was a train going by and it went whoo hoo, I said, well, there they are shouting out to Mama Pat for getting her for doing well,
Everybody's saying, yay, Mama Pat. Corinne is saying, yay, as well. And Corinne says, change the station on the TV.
Right.
And Elizabeth
adds, the other thing is, what's that?
She says, yes, I can't change them, but I can change me and my attitude and behaviors.
And the other thing, absolutely. And the other thing is that, when we talk about, sometimes you're just emotional, your energy is just down and you just don't. Let's shift that gear over a little bit to people who have lost loved ones over the past few years. Okay. It doesn't just have to be the year of, it can be the last, 3, 4, for some people it's 5, 10 years, but for most people it's 2 to 3 years and back, or forward, I should say. And that's a hard time because, someone new is making the recipe and you're missing them. And, families have traditions, and people, if you're in relationships, have traditions. And then when those things are blown up, you have to settle. You have to be able to give your time to give yourself time to settle. And so for individuals who have lost a loved one as recent as today, moving into this holiday, or you've lost a loved one 3, 4 years ago. And again, not to discredit that some people it's, 5, 10, 15 years. But to honor yourself, and honoring yourself is the best way to honor them. Asking for what you need. And if you don't want to have the holiday, it's okay. It's okay not to have the holiday.
Suzanne said, yes, my little mama won't be here and she loves my dressing.
I was specifically thinking about Marcy. That's Suzanne's mom, because she made mac and cheese, and nobody can make her mac and cheese. They all think they try. Well, they do try. but they have not accomplished it yet.
Bless you.
And that's one of those things.
Suzanne said thank you. Suzanne said thank you.
Yeah, that's one of those things, is that, there's pain. Pain comes 365 days out of the year. Pain is amplified over the holidays. And it's amplified, I think, in part over the holidays because there is a social expectation of happiness and collective joy. And not that that's not a good thing, but we have to find our happiness and our joy in our own pace. We can't be summoned to be happy at someone else's request.
Right.
And that can be challenging,
Let's flip the coin here. We've got someone in the family who doesn't want to show up. And we are hurt by that. If there's a mom out there and your only child says, I've decided not to come home for the holidays. I'm not going to see you. Maybe you and your child, it's just the two of you. And it's always been just the two of you. And all of a sudden that child says, I'm going to go to Aspen with my friends. How do you deal with that? Because that's grief. That is a grief. That's a separation. That's a tough thing. So shoe on the other foot. And it's not like you want your kid not to have fun. But how do you deal with the child who says, I'm choosing a different activity?
Well, you look at your friend circle and you look at the people that are around you and you try a new experience. And your friend tries, or your child tries a new experience. Again, it kind of goes back to the expectation of the holidays, because would it be the same if on August I started to say 15th. That's Suzanne's birthday. August 15th, somebody's, you decide you're going to go to Aspen with your friends instead of going over and having dinner with your family. Are they just as butthurt because it's August the 15th, or is it because it's the holiday? We have to get clear on. I get it that on social media, social media, while it can serve as a great platform of awareness, it also serves as a great, great measuring stick for keeping up with the Joneses. And so everybody wants to post the big family picture, and everybody wants to post what they're eating, and they all want to know, they want the world to know who came. Well, if Billy Bob doesn't come, then Billy Bob's not in the picture, and now the picture's ruined because now I can't post it because Billy Bob's not here. And it's like, oh my gosh, take a picture of the freaking mashed potatoes then and post that. You have to look at what works for you. And some people will say, well, that's selfish. Okay.
Good with that. Elizabeth says real life isn't a Hallmark movie. And that's an important statement. That's
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's more like true crime.
You're so funny. Corinne says, 1 year I bought tickets for my son to come home. He took those tickets and went to live in California. It took me a long time to get over that. Of course it does, Corinne.
Of course. And again, we play into this, all of the intricate family dynamics, right? Mm-hmm. Because some people, some families are very tight and other families aren't very tight. And some families have got things going on that that are moving up to the holidays,
Amy, or unsolved mysteries.
There you go. Probably unsolved mysteries, Amy. That's more like it,
Yeah. I think
that with a gentle sprinkle of Jerry Springer,
Yes. Suzanne says, you're going into overtime. Ciao. Well, we're not quite. We're almost there. We're 5 minutes down. So,
and if you got to go, people go. We don't want to, we're not holding you hostage by any stretch of the means. So
yeah, you can come back and see us on the replay, or you can not. That's all right. That's what we do. And we are here each and every week. We are going to put a bow on this puppy though. And, Corinne says, thankfully, my son is so much more considerate and loving now.
there you go.
That's a good thing. Well, whatever you do, we're going to be opening up some hot topics going into the holidays, and we're here to help. And sometimes you need a little extra. And Terry actually is going to be working the day after Thanksgiving because people need you. And that's what you're doing. And if you want to talk to Terry, terrypugh.com, you can set up and whether it's a single or a package or whatever, you can get in touch with her and do a virtual meeting, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you know, I love, well, love is an understatement. I enjoy the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just get real clear with my wording there, because love would mean that I just cannot wait. And I could wait. I could jump to January the 2nd right now, and I'd be cool with that.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the holidays, and I love the joy of seeing other people happy. And I have my own happiness around it. But I do think that, you know, there are a lot of people. Somebody said to me the other day, you know, I can't believe you're working the day after Thanksgiving. And I was like, well, everybody in the mall's working the day after Thanksgiving. Like, you know, it's the day after Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And quite honestly, I'm grateful for what I do. So it's very fitting for me to be working the day after Thanksgiving.
That's right. Corinne is saying thank you. And Corinne also said thank you for the Increase the Peace t-shirts. You saw it on Cafe Press.
There you go.
She just shared the link for us. And Joyce just joined us. Love y'all, girls. This is always great. And Amy says, always so good, ladies. Thank you and have a wonderful holiday. And we will be here the next week on Wednesday. We will be here just like we planned. Just that's what, because that's kind of razor blades we are.
That's what we're doing.
terrypugh.com. You can reach me. Your comments, I read them all. And when you send me an email, I don't use your name unless you ask me to, which you always ask me not to. So that's why I've never used your name. I'm really not as messed up as what I sound. I you know, some of these are my questions. Some of these are my topics, but a lot of them are other people's, but I'll say they're mine because I'm codependent. And if I'm going to practice my ism, I'm going to practice it on this show. So
There you go. You know, but again, you know, it's just, yeah. Whatever you do, folks, as you're leading up to this holiday, you know, we're already in the holiday season because technically it kind of starts with Labor Day, and then we just kind of glacial ride into Halloween, and then at Halloween it's like, you know, the start gun goes off and everybody goes crazy. So as you're making your way to your Instacart or your Kroger or your Publix or your Sam's or your Costco's or wherever it is you're taking yourself, don't forget, don't put so much pressure on yourself to get it right by other people's expectations. Get it right with yourself. Mm-hmm. Feel good about yourself. Do what you need for yourself. Everything else will fall into place if you do that.
Mm-hmm. It really will.
Other people might not be super happy about it at first, but when they see that you're taking care of yourself, which is ultimately what they want anyway, everything kind of slides into place.
It does. I wish you'd look at what Elizabeth said. This might sting, Devin. I hear Terry churning. Mm-hmm. I can take it. That's all right. She's stung me before and she'll sting me again. It's okay, because that's how I have grown so much since I met her.
Well, we've all grown, right? I mean, we all grow. This show enables us to grow individually and collectively. I know we have shared our heart. We have pulled our sleeves up and pulled our heart out many a time on this show. And I can't imagine not doing that. You know, mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes I have to check myself because I get triggered and I'm like, whoop, okay, let me just not go there too much, you know, but we do have to check ourselves. Every one of us has to, right? And so I love the topics that we share. I love that we are headed into a season of gratitude and appreciation. And I hope that while everybody's out there appreciating and being grateful for everyone else, you take time to be grateful for yourself, and you take time to be appreciative of yourself. Because if you're not taking time to do that, I can assure you, you won't see other people doing it.
That's right. Elizabeth says, I've grown so much through having y'all in my life, and Joyce has given us an amen. So we're going to put a bow on this puppy and say bye to y'all. And Terry's going to close out the way she always does.
I am, and I'm going to steal another 10 seconds by saying, don't forget that on December the 6th, we're having our Santa's Helper stocking stuffer, and you're welcome to bring a few things if you'd like to put it on the table. There'll be a lot of, there'll be drinks, there'll be snacks, there'll be for us, and then there'll also be like snacks and drinks and hygiene products and hand warmers and things like that we can stuff stockings with. And then the stockings are supplied. A lot of the stuff is supplied, and then you just come and you're in community, stuff a few stockings, and then take those stockings with you. And when you see someone in need over the next several weeks, then gift it to them with just a, here you go, and talk about your heart expanding.
I'm telling you, Angie, it's so good to have you with us always. Well, that's it for me.
All right. Well, until we see all of you lovelies next Wednesday, cafepress.com, increase the peace. Corinne's going to post it. I thought of Corinne when Amy was helping me with this. Amy actually is the brain behind it. She was doing so much great work with that. So we've got all the increase the peace stuff out there. And on that note, until we see you all next Wednesday, get that dang shopping done. And if you're going to go somewhere, pack that bag, but do it with love. And if you don't want to go, do that with love too, and increase your peace.